Hi, everyone. My name is Gloria Blaise, and I am Director of Research of Haiti Policy House. And today we are going to talk about education. This is the solutions-oriented speaker series where we go beyond just talking about Haiti's challenges, but also talk about potential solutions and how we can influence policy. And so our guiding proverb today is to be Pitit, Richès, Malere, which translates to children are the wealth of the poor. And that means that children bring happiness and comfort to the less fortunate. And they are also the future of their families. And today our topic goes very well with that proverb. Our topic is education, and particularly education reform. And I have with me here today a veteran journalist, Fritznel Octave, who I will let introduce himself shortly. Our goal for today is to do three things. First, is to contextualize Haiti's educational system's challenges, including how it contributes to the current insecurity in the country. At the same time, we'd like to brainstorm what a reform system would look like. And lastly, we'd like to identify policies that we should be aware of, or at least see how it could be influenced or amended to have better development in education in the future. And before moving forward with those objectives, I would like our guest today to introduce himself. We have Fritznel. Welcome to the Solutions-Oriented Speaker Series. And so in 2 or 3 minutes, I know you have a lot of experience, but in 2 or 3 minutes, tell us who you are, where you're from, and what you think you are an expert in.
Good afternoon, good evening, Gloria, everyone who's watching at this moment. As you said, my name is Fritznel Octave. I am a veteran journalist. I've been working as a journalist for the past 25 years or so. I earned a bachelor in communication and journalism from the State University of Haiti. And I also attended Florida Atlantic University in Boca Raton, where I earned my MBA. Because when I moved to the US in mid 2020, mid 2000, let's say, so I realized that there was a need for the Haitian community in the greater Fort Lauderdale, Miami area, and in terms of financial education and someone with a heart to guide them toward making the right financial decision. And I feel like going back to school for my MBA would be some credential that would help me be able to do that.
Well, thank you, Fritznel. So let's jump right into the actual challenges, right? You've mentioned a number of challenges that you faced growing up, but also having to leave your area to go all the way to school at Port-au-Prince. And so which brings me to the first question of the first two questions. We'll be focusing on accessibility, both physical accessibility, but of course, other accessibility issues in Haiti's educational system. And so the first question I have is about getting to school. Can you describe the geographical limitations, but also the privatization of Haiti's schools right now and how physically access is being, I guess, challenged right now by several things existing?
Yeah,
What do you think on that?
Okay. Yeah, let's take the first aspect of your question, the physical limitation. So this has always been up to today a very I'd say the greatest, well, if it's one of the greatest, if not the greatest challenge, for equality in the education system in Haiti, for quality as well. Because I remember when I was a kid, my very first day going to school, I was so excited. But by the time I get to the wood about 5 kilometers from our house to the school. So I already feel like, oh no, I don't like this. To walk, you go from, because my family's house is on top of a village, top, because Gulbrandson is like a plateau. Okay. So you have hills, you have valleys, you have a ravine, right? Okay. Okay. So and then the mountains, the hills, you go, examine that you're like 6, 7 year old, and then to walk like 5, 6 kilometers, to which school and going up and down. That's already a big challenge. And then now when you get to the school, the very first word the teacher, I remember that to this day, the very first word is, oh, comment appelles-tu? And me, I never heard that word before. I'm looking at the teacher. So it's like we two strangers trying to communicate with each other. And then at some point, she would just, move on. And then
That brings us to kind of our next question about the language barrier. And you can couple your response with the language barrier, with the privatization of schools. So what's your take on the whole French and Creole language? I know the Creole language was made official in the 1987 Constitution, I think. And so what's your take on the current challenges with language in Haiti system right now?
Well, this is a big challenge. And so if a lot of people would say it's by default that we use in French because it's the part of our inheritance. This is a big heritage from cultural heritage from the colonization from France, etc. So it's one thing, good thing we got is the language, and people will argue time and time, or Creole is not so developed and cannot be like a scientific tools to involve in education, so all that. But in reality, this is by design. There's no default in this. This is a system designed to fail the majority of the people because French is a language of privileged people. It's a language of colonization. It's a language of inequity because the majority, 99.9% of Haitians, they only speak Creole. Okay, so it'll be very hard for you to learn French because French is not an easy language. It's very difficult. You never speak it at home. That's my point from earlier. You never speak it at home, and then the first thing you get to school to speak is French. So you now not only you don't speak it, but then they make it harder for you to even learn it because they scare you. They beat you up because you speak in Creole in the school. Okay, now it's less because with all the evolution with 1987 constitutions and all that. So you probably rarely see that they beat someone in school because they speak Creole. But for that long legacy, for so many years, so it's still that's the scars in our system, in our education system up to this day. Not making Creole the principal language for an education system in Haiti. So basically set up the majority of the kids to fail. Because it's like you are learning in a foreign language. You're not learning in your own vernacular and the own language you speak in the street and at home. Which is we probably the only country in the region that has been like that. So majority, all the countries in the Caribbean, so they have one major language, they all speak it, and then that's how they educate their kids. So the 1987 Constitution. So on black and white, school is the responsible schooling. You're talking about the school age kids. They're supposed to be fall on the responsibility of the state, of the government, to educate them, not the parents, to pay for it. It's the government, the country is supposed to pay universally from first grade to 12th grade. Okay? But because of all the problem we know, it's for socioeconomic challenges, inequity, political issues, instability, of the politics of things. So infrastructure. So all this problem we have to make it difficult so that there is a vacuum. So the state doesn't have enough capability to really receive most of the kids. So 70%, I mean, let's say the last report on the education system said that 80% of the schools are private. Only 20% are public school. So when you have kids. You have close to, it's a give and take 11.5 million people in the country, and then from on the kids under 15, they account for say one third of the population. So you see the problem right here. We don't say with 20% of the school are public, so the public system doesn't have enough capability to accommodate all these kids coming to school age. So that's create a vacuum. So that's why you have all these private institutions. So people have to pull their hair to be able to come up with the money to pay for the school. And then thanks God, a lot of families have the diaspora. You have someone in the US or in Canada or in France or in South America or in Asia, wherever, you know, scoping and putting, get some remittance to them, so that way they can afford to pay for the school for the children education, but it's still we're very limited.
So you talk about families struggling to just be able to afford to send their kids to school, which make me think about the food insecurity issue, about how in the States here, or in the US at least, public schools offer several meals, at least two, during the day for students so that they can come to school, have food, and be able to process and retain what they're learning. And so there's been studies that show that food insecurity has an effect on attendance of students. Some students don't come to school when their households are food insecure, but at the same time, I'm sure there's clinical peer-reviewed publications that show that nutrition plays a role in being able to learn and process and retain information. And so we're aware that Haiti has a food insecurity issue, and it's only gotten worse in the past couple of years. So what have been your observations on the importance of food, or just the capabilities of the schools in Haiti in being able to provide these meals to students? And are there any limitations present in the rural areas versus the urban areas? And so I'd like to get your take on the aspect of food for students.
Yeah, on that aspect is very important to touch on it, because the same way the country, basically you have two Haiti. You have Haiti for the well-to-do, and then you have a Haiti for the majority who are impoverished. I refuse to say poor, because to me, Haitians, they're not poor. They are impoverished. Okay? You can, look at different aspects of it, why and then how that's come to happen that way. But then this is a reality. This majority of impoverished because the country have natural resources, have more than enough for everyone, but it's not distributed right, and then it's not developed enough to be able to reach the people wherever they are. So in the rural area, so back in my time, so I remember you will have food, and you have one meal. They provide you with one meal in school, but that was not like a systematic thing, like from a government policies perspective. It was because of some NGOs. They're part of the problem. There's 10,000 of them, over 10,000 of them scattered around Haiti. So they will pick on the problem, but feed that problem instead of resolving the problem. And then so people never have to face that challenge anymore, because to my understanding is, as a reporter, and then what I've uncovered throughout Haiti is that most of those NGOs, over 10,000 of them on the ground in Haiti, so they see changing Haiti as a threat to their existence. So they will continue to feed the problems, they nourish that problem, so that problem get bigger, bigger, bigger. So they justify their presence on the ground. So that's basically it. So those NGO will come in and they give you one meal a day in school. So I don't know too well now if it's still the case, but in urban area, so they don't even provide meal to kids in school in urban area. It's only the rural area, so you will have this meal. But when you look at what they provide, it's still, it's very nutritional, but it's mostly carbs.
Okay.
No vegetables, nothing else, no drinks, no foods. So it's just carb. They give you either rice or, sometimes in most cases that rice as it is, boil with oil and water and salt. Or that bulgur. The bulgur was the most prominent one. So on my time, I don't know right now. So that if it's still the case in most rural area, but that's what they provided. And so by the time you eat, especially the bulgur, by the time you eat it in 1 hour, you already feel hungry again, and it doesn't really get enough nutrients on it to help you, stay in the hot day in Haiti and school with no ventilations. No, that's what was the problem for learning. A big challenge for learning.
Well, thank you for that. And so you mentioned just now I'm not sure what the number is today. I know around the earthquake, it was around 10,000. I'm going to assume it's kind of decreased a bit, but you mentioned the vast number of NGOs that are around the country, and also with the privatization, it's, a lot of individuals and NGOs that are setting up these schools to fill in the gap that the government, the state of Haiti can't provide. And so it makes me think about just the curriculum, the lack of consistency that's possibly present, in the sense that, I guess, who's overseeing the quality of the curriculum, who's accrediting these institutions. And so what's your take on the lack of consistency across the board, across these several schools, private schools? Is it that only certain type of schools are going to produce high quality students, or is it just a free for all, decide what you want to do? And
Okay.
what does that mean for the education?
Yes. So in terms of authority overseeing the education system in Haiti is the Ministry of Education and Vocational Training. Le ministère de l'Éducation nationale et de formation professionnelle. Okay. So this ministry, as far as we can track as far back as the U.S. occupation in mid 1900. So then 1915 to 1934. That's when that was the period of the first U.S. occupation of Haiti. That's when they're trying to in their own language, modernize, more institutionalize the education systems, and with really a structure. And so that Ministry of Education, get originated from this effort from the U.S. Military occupation system, and go to all the way to the Duvalier. And from time to time, they just tweak things here and there, but at the core of the thing stays the same. So that ministry, to me, it's a failed institution, because put it that way, to respond more direct to your question, 70% of school in Haiti right now, as we speak, they don't have recognition, official recognition. They don't have the certification to function at school. 70%. Remember, 80% of all schools in the system, they are private. So 70% of all schools don't have recognition, legal recognition to function at school. They don't have permit. So there's no supervision. They do whatever they want. So even though they've been from time to time, we have some effort to reform the system, that's already posed a big challenge. Now, because so much politics will involve in this, because that system is a money machine for those involved. And so coming to reform it, coming to change it, to say, hey, you have to function certain way, we supervise what kind the quality you offering to our kids, we do this, we do that. It'll cause death and destruction. And then it's been causing death and destruction.
So this brings me to our next question, a burning question I've had to talk about. The $1.50, $1.50. Since June 2011, under the Martelly administration, the government of Haiti has been collecting a money transfer fee of 150 to the common money transfer, I guess, companies. And at the same time, also charging 5 cents per minute for calls, international calls coming into Haiti. And the intention behind these fees is to support the country's education system. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, this wasn't a policy that was like voted on by the parliament or anything. It was just put out, and the companies agreed to provide that fee towards the government of Haiti. And so I read about this in your book very briefly, and a really amazing book. Thank you for writing it. Thank you for producing it. It's very easy to comprehend. But I'd like to ask you, from your perspective, what has been the impact of this policy on access to education? You mentioned earlier this vacuum, like the state doesn't have the capacity to take in all these students or these youth that are making up 30% of the population right now. Do you think this $50 has done more harm than good, or are you aware of any reports that have been put out to report on the effectiveness of this $50, or is it a situation where it's just?
First of all, when you talk about reports in Haiti, so it gives people pause, because that there's one of the major problems for institutionally, structurally for Haiti is accountability. There's no report available. People will say things. Okay, it's all based on rumor. Like, okay, you volé l'argent, you this, that. But there's no specific report to say that, okay, this is what we collected, and then this is what we done with most of it, or part of it, or all of it, and then the balance is 0 or the balance is X. So there's nothing like that ever produced I'm aware of. And then I dig those stories, and there's no substantial report on this ever since that decision was made by the Martelly Lamotte government in 2011. Okay, but don't take me wrong. It's in a sense having the diaspora to contribute to education in Haiti is not a big deal. They already been doing that anyway. $1.50 they put extra on the money, $50 they sending to a family member, to a friend. So what killed them? It's not a problem. Nobody would have problem with that. And I specify that point in my book. So the problem is that, okay, it's not a policy-based decision. There's no policy. The Martelly Lamotte government didn't have an education plan program or a global policy on education that they're going to implement, and then they calculate, they estimate that we need X amount of millions of dollars in the US, and then where we can find it in Canada and in the United States. So with all these, Haitians living in those places, and then we can bring it to money transfers and phone calls and internet service and whatever, you name it. So it was not something like that. So it was basically designed as a vehicle for them to get more money from us, because when we buy plane tickets to go to Haiti, it's insane the price you're going to pay. So, but then you look at the receipt. Most of that is a government imposed fee. It's not the flight ticket price. It's not the trip that costs that much. Okay, so they're already they're using all the different area to just squeeze every penny out of us, and then that one of the area, so they did that, and then they added on, because you can understand that point by an illustration. Okay, when Martelly made that decision, people in parliament, people in different political parties, people everywhere, they criticize it. They say, these guys, it's corruptions, and they're going to get this money. There's no accountability, nothing. Okay, but what is the role of the parliament? Why they didn't come up with a plan? So he already made the decision. We already paying that $1.50 and then 5 cents on phone calls, on phone cards you buy, and whatever communication system you use. You pay that 5 cents on it, plus we pay that $1.50 on every transfer you send to the country. Well, it's already there, it's already a fact. Either the parliament decide to take a measure to eliminate it, or they take measure to redress things and fix it, and then come up with a plan for education and where the money is going to go. So that never happened. They criticize, they fight, but the fight is just for, oh no, I'm not in the position, or this guy going to benefit. So, and then when Matele been out since when? Since 2016. Why it's still there? Why that $1.50 is still there? Very same people were criticizing Matele for it. So when they turn in power, they didn't do a thing about it. The money keep flowing, they keep using it for their own benefits. Nobody know what it is because the school system is still the same. No real changes, no big changes. But then all the challenges still remain. So nobody talk about that $1.50 anymore, even though we have a lawsuit here in the US. So it's like sleeping.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
I know last time I checked, so I probably talk about it in my book. So there was a federal judge that decided to take the case, but then that's it. Then nothing progressed from there.
you mentioned earlier about whether or not the $1.50 is imposed on these transfer fees, people are still sending money back. I mean, and the money that's being transferred is going towards education in some way, regardless, or just overall livelihood of people living in Haiti. And so, sticking to the topic of money transfers and remittances, I've learned recently about the country of Philippines and how, due to just the lack of domestic job opportunities, that once people graduate from university, there's no way to channel those educated students once they complete all their education. And so they have this program pretty much to export labor of high quality, highly educated students from the country that then can go overseas, work these high quality jobs, and support their families back home in the Philippines. Therefore, it helps develop the country, but also adds to the economic development of the, I guess, the government's fiscal policy, whatnot. Not too sure. But it makes me think about Haiti. I don't have the report in front of me, but the most recent number I heard about remittances, I guess what composition of the GDP remittances make, it was about 22%. And so with remittances being so, I guess, powerful, or just a lot, so much for Haiti's GDP, in your book, you talk about how during IST's presidency, it was almost like favored that they wanted people to leave and go live somewhere with more money and, of course, send money back. And so what is your take on Haiti also adopting a similar labor export program in the event that, let's say, we can't reform our economy that quickly, but we can work on providing higher quality education? Let's say that was the process. What's your take on Haiti adopting a similar labor export program where we radically transform the education system to produce high quality students, but then export them to go work elsewhere while we figure out the job opportunity situation? What's your take on that?
If it's a national policy that's well thought of, so we sit down, we gather, all the great minds the country have, plus international support, the true friends, the good friends, the one that would like sincerely would like Haiti to prosper and strive. So you gather all this mind together, and then you come up with a national plan to implement. So it's not a problem. There could be one step toward helping rebuild the country. I mean, build the country that never get built. So sometimes when you say rebuild, it's like something you had that was built before and then destroyed somehow, and then you try to wait. But that doesn't never happen, because we have sporadically a lot of things here and there, but the country has never been built. So maybe that would be one of the element that would favor that building process of the country. But as I said, it cannot be something like politically decided, like random, like the politics of things. Let's do that so more money can flow in, and then when the money come in, there's you don't know where they go. It's like we have a big hole, a sinking hole that just going down with the money. So, speaking of that, we already been doing it, as you mentioned earlier. So dated back after I said, returned after the first coup d'etat in 1995. So it was encouraged people to go out. It was an encouragement process. and they put in place to do that. It's like they don't tell you, they don't point a gun behind your head to get out of the country, but they make it so difficult that you have no choice. When you got like, okay, let's get back. Okay, the higher education in Haiti is still free, even though the Constitution say, you know, so from primary to secondary school, I mean elementary to high school, so 6th to 12th grade, basic, I mean first to 12th grade, free. But being the university, the State University of Haiti, it has a traditions of a free public education. Even though it's an autonomous, university system, it's not like a government a university. Is a university of the people. It's autonomous. It's independently run. It's not the government doesn't run it. It's got their own body, own structure that run it. But the government fund it. So after you graduate from the university, they don't intend for you to stay in the country. But this is a de facto system. It's not like a well thought out policy that, okay, we export resources outside so we can bring more money, more resources, more financial resources to the country, like Philippines. So the Philippines you're talking about, we have a lot of them in Haiti, especially in IT, working for big bucks in the US dollar. Okay. So, and the opposite of that, we fled our resources. People, we make the country so difficult for the Haitian to live in, so they have to find a home elsewhere, outside of the country. Except a very tiny minority who cling to the country as their job, and then they will never leave it, even despite all you see. All the insecurity programations, all these things, they are by design. Of a system designed to fail the majority of people. So anything good belongs to only that tiny elite. That's what happened. So today, even though we're talking about the education system, the lack of capability, all this, but remember, and during the year 2019 to 2020, $200 million flew from Haiti to Dominican Republic to the education system. So I haven't checked for the last, but I know now from 2021 to 2023, it's probably triple that figure because of all this problem with pay lock, there kidnappings, people cannot move around, school closed for years, and the people just take their kid to the Dominican Republic to school, in primary school. In my time, when I was a young kid, so 12, 14, 15. So if the parents say you're going to take a 12, 14-year-old to school in Dominican Republic, everyone will look at you, they say, are you crazy? Since when Dominican Republic has the best school system in the Caribbean for you to leave the system in Haiti and go and quest for education in Dominican Republic? So, but now it's become the norm because of how we manage the country to make sure that the majority of people either they die or they leave.
Well, you said a lot of things, even the budget. I mean, the reported amount of money that has been funneled to the Dominican Republic. I mean, that money alone can help build roads to access education. All right. I want to
build more schools.
Yeah. And also the migration or the out-migration of critical human capital in the country. You get rid of all your educated people, yes. Then you're left with youth that have no choice but to find alternatives, and we know what that alternative might look like in certain parts of Haiti. And so as we close out this discussion, I'd like to ask you one last question. Considering all that we've talked about today, the insecurity, the roads, also just the lack of curriculum that's being overseen because everything is privatized. And so with this pandemic that's happened, it's one shock where it forced people around the world to engage in long distance learning or distance learning from home. And so from your perspective, what are the top 3 things that the government of Haiti needs to prioritize after security, of course, because that's baseline. Without security, there's nothing that can happen without security. But beyond security, what are 3 things that you think the Haitian government should be prioritizing in the short term and long term? And this could be pertaining to actual physical accessibility, or whether it be investing in another sector, whether it be digital infrastructure that can then support distance learning, whatever you think. Tell me what you think your top 3 are.
Yeah, in short term. So you already have a system in place, whatever you have now. Short term is trying to clean up the system. So the question of we have maybe 3, 4 different layers in the system education in Haiti. So quickly, it's urgent that we fix that. We don't have, there's no problem for the elite, for the economic elites, for people well-to-do, to have money, have their own system if they want. But we have to have a national education program, a universal program for every single kid, rich or poor or wherever, from the rural area, from urban area. But I mean now, before the 1970s, so about 70 to 80% of the population was living in rural area. So today, 58% of the population is in urban area. So that's already a challenge. So we need to look at this and see, but from the system we have now, how we can fix, like clean up the system, make sure that we regulate the education system. So we do inventory of all the schools that exist. About 70% lack of certification. So we need to look at them, see, put a standard in place, policy in place. So what the school need to, what kind of requirement they need to meet in order to get recognition, to get this, to certify to function as a school. So those little things, they don't require a lot of money. They only require will and leadership. So we have what we call in the education system in Haiti, school inspectors. That's dated back to the Valier. Or this system is not modernized. These inspectors, they will go with a notebook and a pen up to today in 2023, around the country, some of them barefooted, to try to collect data for the government. And then for those data later become no avail. If you go to the Ministry of Education or as a journalist, you're asking for data for things you are writing a feature articles on education and stuff, either data is available, they're not going to give it to you politically, or they don't have it, they flush it in the toilet after they receive it. So the school inspectors can be a big help, and then helping reshape the education system. So that's the first thing, reshaping it. Do a complete survey of the system. See what school makes sense require, and we can help them get to par. And then certain other schools need to be eliminated, flush out of the system. And then we do that, we clean it. That's the first thing. And then the second thing, we'll start looking at increased capability for the public school system. Someone have money, you want to do schooling, you want to sell education as a business, that's no problem. I have requirement, because there's a global national education policy, a plan in place that say, okay, based on what we need, how we see ourselves as a country in the next 20, 30, 50 years, 100 years, who knows from now. So this is how we want a Haitian citizen look like in terms of education. So once you have that, and then so people will have to follow. They want to run a school as a business. That's their thing. But you increase your capability. You make yourself available. You put quality in the school, not only just building, but you put the infrastructure and technology. You know, at least today, we still use the white chalk and the blackboard. And the majority of school in Haiti, except for a few private schools, and then maybe a couple public schools, for the most part. So in 2023, is it white chalk with blackboard? Really? No library. So nothing. You're talking about digital, but they don't even have the school. No school are connected except for a few private. No, you know, it's what we call l'école congréganiste. You know, those religious schools. You know, the one they call the top in Haiti, but top question mark for me. You know, so it's that's the second part of it. Increase the capacity. Second, you know, thing. First, we inventory the system, survey it, and then fix the different parts. Give school recognition where they give them criteria to follow, and then people made it. They did. You don't meet it, you out of the system. And then second, you increase the capacity to receive kids. And then the third thing will be that will be more long term is infrastructure, because it requires a huge program, because the country is present a major challenges for the infrastructure development. So it will be a very holistic approach to take to develop Haiti infrastructure, develop the infrastructure in Haiti. So, but it's not that difficult either. It just require will. It just require a vision. Different than the vision we have now. Sometimes people say, "Oh, the leader in Haiti don't have vision." You're fooling yourself. They do have vision, but the vision they have is a vision to fail the majority. Yeah, they know what country they want, and then they've been designing that country little by little since 1806, and then we get to a point where we are today. Okay, since Pitit. So these are the three major things for me. If we do urgently and short term with long term, to be able to see a different kind of education system. But and then we think about the Creole. Creole, it's not just the Constitution in 1987. So in 1978, there was this minister called everybody go by Bernard. That was his last name. So Bernard, came up with a reform in 1978, even though this major part of that reform never get implemented. And then the minimum implementation of that didn't start until 1982. But in 1978, he came up with that. Under the value, even though a lot of people hate the devalues, but then even though they brutally run the country, but then there's certain good thing they did as well. They come up with a very good plan. Back then, today you will revise that plan because it's 1978 to 2023. So that's how many years, you will, if we were to implement Bernard plan, that we would have been in a better position than we are today. Because what he did, his plan, that program was designed to not only to modernize the school system, increase its capability, but align it better with the market needs. So what really we need as a country? So and then we produce the citizen to meet those challenges as needed. That's what it was. That's what they integrate the vocational and professional school and high school and what we call secondary school in Haiti. So that program take into consideration the vocational and professional training in high school. You have two parts. Either you go all the way academic, or you pick a trade, you pick a profession at a certain point during your schooling process. You take your choice. If I want to go all academic, I go to higher education, all this. If I want to be quick, get into the marketplace work, and then I pick a trade. So it was a good thing. Not only that, also another thing, and very important, is that the language Creole was an innovation in that reform. So because that's the very first time there's a policy that said, okay, Creole need to be taught in school, even though it didn't clearly say that they need to teach kids in Creole, but it says the Creole is allowed to be taught in school. But before, they will beat you up, they give you some kind of what we call pion. I don't know what to say that in English. So they will give you is that a symbol of punishment you receive in your hand at the end of the day. So whoever it's going around the class, everyone who speaks Creole, and then it goes to you. And then at the end of the day, whoever left with it at the end of the day, they will get punished. The punishment from the teacher. So that's what it used to be. And then Bena eliminated that. They say, okay, no. And then another thing, apart from that innovation, but he came up with a student-centered approach in the methodology of education in the system. So before Bena reform, so the system was pedagogically centered around the teacher. The teacher is the superstar. Is it teacher-centered approach? So you can talk in the class. You can even exchange with your peers. So the teacher is all the king in the classroom. So he said, the Bernard program said, no, we have reverse course. We have to have the protagonist should be the kids to be able to simulate them to learn. And then we're not going to punish disabled kids. The kids have the learning disability. Kids who learn slower than others. We're not going to tell them, and beat them up and push them out of the school system. So we're going to use an integration system where all the kids equally treated, and then at the same time, they're looking at the particularity in their learning process to make sure that see, that's what all those programs was. And so that's the reason why I said, if they implemented it, so, politics and all that, because that's not the country they designed. They don't want that. When I say they, the tiny elite of intellectuals who use education, knowledge as a weapon, as opposed to a tool for the well-being, for common good of the country as a whole. So they want to monopolize everything for themselves, everything good. So they just mirror what's happening in France. So just like they see themselves as European, precisely French, as opposed to being Haitians for who we are, our cultural background, what we do as a people. So as opposed to that, reject all that, and then import something from Europe that won't align with what we need or what will be difficult for us to grasp. So that's basically the issue.
So thank you, Fritznel, for that. I think you leave us with a couple good points here, especially the Bernard program, about how there are some transformations that need to be revisited or amended or changed, because like the proverb in the beginning of the show, Pitit, Richès, Malere, the children are the future of the country, and we need to really think about how to transform or just amend what's been going on. And also, like you said, political will. Political will is the key. If there's the will, there's a way.
There's a way.
And so I'd like to thank the viewers. And if the viewers would like to be more engaged or be updated on the content related to the speaker solutions, the solutions-oriented speaker series, feel free to subscribe and follow up with us. But also, if you'd like to learn more about Fritznel and his work, we'll be tagging his social media and his website as well in the description. And we just thank you all for joining us today. And we look forward to informing everyone on some more critical things that we should be aware of for Haiti's challenges. And so thank you. And thank you, Fritznel.
So thank you very much for inviting me. It's a pleasure. It was a pleasure to be with you. And then, so we need to work together. This is so crucial, so important for change in Haiti. So we need that big platform where we come together. So one of the main issues that preventing us from moving forward, from progressing as a people, is the division. Too many parts in the puzzle scattered around, so nobody know how to pick them up and then gather them together and put them in the right place. So if we do this, the only time we will be a different country is when we decide to do that. So and then I think in Haiti Policy House is one of the platforms that will help do that. So let's do this together.
Thank you, of course, Fritznel. Of course, I'm going to just bring up your book again. It's called Haiti Between Pestilence and Hope. And so if you are looking to get a bit of history that's done in a very condensed and simple way of understanding for the common person like myself, go ahead and check this out. And so thank you again, Fritznel.
Yeah, thank you.